What's up, everybody? This is Enlightened Masculinity Podcast. I'm your host, Yogi Chris, PhD, streaming from Base 1, San Jose. This is IMC Base 1 in Campbell, California. And today's episode is going to have the base leaders from two of the other IMC bases. Now, first, before we go any further, this is a red pill show. It's a red pill of masculinity. It's the red pill of spirituality. And this is the pinnacle of this red pill movement on planet Earth. Most of the red pillars, they get censored, they get deleted. We do too, but we got something else going for us, and it's our actual abilities to communicate and our awareness of social dynamics. So we're way beyond pickup artists. We're way beyond red pillars and conspiracy theorists. We're way beyond, freedom fighters of government and whatever. They all have their place and they do what they do. But this here is an integrated movement of philosophers that master life. They go into life, their social life, their relationships, with their families, with their business, with a different understanding of language and communication. We'll get into that. And I have gotten into that. This is like episode 250 or 260 or something. So I've covered it a lot. But what I have with me today, to my right, is Wil Rios, Esquire, right? I think that's how you say it. Mm-hmm. So he's a lawyer, bard in over 30 states, so half the United States. This guy can practice law, or maybe we're waiting for that certificate.
We're waiting.
We're waiting for the certificate, but
I'm licensed in California.
There you go. He's licensed in California, and that's half the population of the United States. So
right, basically.
And he's also a beast professional DJ on the side, so he gets paid to go and make cool beats that you guys are going to dance to. So that's a pretty hip lawyer. And he's the leader of Base 2 in San Jose, California. So we have two bases in the Bay Area. This guy's the leader there. And we'll get into what that means, because this is a whole movement. Hundreds of guys, really thousands of guys around the planet are following the principles of Arasapar Dibazar, who's the founder of the IMC Nation movement and is an example of how to live the philosophy with multiple relationships with gorgeous women, with alliances with very dangerous and powerful men in different industries, many of them that can't be named because of how dangerous they are. But why would they go to a pickup artist and align with a pickup artist? Because he's not a pickup artist. That's why. It's way beyond that. Pickup artists, they're chumps compared to this. They may have game in a nightclub and be able to get women and get pussy to some degree, but getting those women to be loyal, consistent, multiple loyal relationships while holding the respect of powerful men and keeping it consistent year after year after year, not just losing the woman, having to get a new woman, losing that woman, having to get a new woman, losing students and this and that. This is a rush. It's a different movement. You'll see. And to my left, I have Oracle Cervantes. We've had him on the show before. I think I've had Will on the show before too. He's in from Los Angeles, Base 3 in Los Angeles. Currently, we have 4 bases going on 5. The 5th base is opening in Phoenix. Currently, they're looking to purchase a house. And we'll have Jordan Damari on here soon too. He's doing his base leader training. So Oracle Cervantes, big man, big leader in IMC Nation. Employs 6 or more guys in IMC Nation, not to mention his 100+ staffing agency, employs a lot of people. So a lot of people look up and rely on this guy. Takes care of a lot of people. And he's here doing his own personal development journey, not Tony Robbins shit, not Grant Cardone shit, not whatever shit. This is IMC Nation movement. So this guy I've seen level up like no other in the last 2 years, as Wil Rios, also last 2 years with Wil Rios. And so we're going to pick their brains a little bit about being a base leader and their base leader training here, because it's something that I think people should know about, what goes on and how the training happens. So before I just go on another long-winded monologue, I'll just check in with my two brothers here, and we'll just start with Will, because I'll just start on my right. What's it been like? Or first of all, let me give it a little bit of a foundation. So for the people that watch the recordings, this has been some of the most successful months of Enlightened Masculinity podcast. A lot of people watch these recordings, especially on Apple and Spotify. But we're on all the apps: Pandora, Podbean, fucking Amazon, whatever their app is, I forget. And that's thanks to Tony K. So Tony K's on the show right now, and he's responsible for all these postings. So shout out to Tony K, IMC. And what happened? It's almost like I was thinking earlier. It's like a fraternity of philosophers. Or it's like a gang of spiritual warriors. But that phrase, spiritual warrior, it's so played out, and a lot of people use it. They don't know what it is. So first, be a warrior and be spiritual, but not in that kind of sheepish, self-sacrificing spirituality. It's different. It's understanding the mind, language, and how deeply these things go. I'm not going to make the podcast about that, about entities and spirits and whatever, but we know about those things. And as you grow up as a man, as you become adult in your 20s and your 30s, we have guys in their 40s and even in their 50s that are on the program. Michael Elias I think is in his early 60s. And he's part of Dragon's Lair, and he just did the last month's animal magnetism camp. So we're influencing guys of a lot of ages. They're not able to live with each other. And that's a big down. That's a disadvantage when you come up against guys, let's say your twin brother, who is able to live with brothers. If he's living with 4 or 5 other guys aligned with his philosophy, you have a lot more power as a man. Not only do you have wingmen wherever you go, not only do you stay engaged socially with people that you live with, so that you can't turn dark, you can't turn antisocial, you can't hide all of your negative bad habits. You get discovered when you live with other guys. And so your ability to develop your character goes up tremendously when you live with guys that are on this philosophy. You could live with some random roommates. You could live with old friends. You can live with your parents. You can live with people. It's not like possible to live with people, but they're not going to have the same philosophy about developing your character. And so you're going to come up to face with suppression and people that are going to try to hold you back and hold you down and, suppress some of these ideas. If you want to excel, it's like David Goggins says, if you want to be that 1%er, you got to be willing to lose all of your relationships. They're going to hold you back because they're not at that same level of ambition as you. And it's your life. Like, you got to look forward to the next decade, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 decades of your life. What are you doing with yourself, really? You're just going to be a cog in the machine, sheep in the herd. Maybe you'll be a bigger, stronger sheep, but what the fuck is that? So you're a buff sheep like that. That's still a slave. So this is a different movement. The ability to live with other guys at this level, it takes some unique skills and abilities. And that's what I'm going to check in with these guys about, because they're leading bases. Oracle has 6 guys living in this base. Wil Rios has 3 other guys living in his base. And, the movement is growing. We got more and more bases coming. So this is a unique thing that the ability to live in a base, I can tell you as a high level man myself at 33, when I moved into a base, it's difficult to learn some of these things. So I'm going to hand it over to, let's start with Wil Rios. What's the base leader training been like for you? Any eye-opening movements so far? And we'll go back and forth, so you don't have to come out with it all right now, but whatever's top of your mind, because as we talk more, you'll remember more or you'll articulate more. So that'll just come, but feel free to be as long-winded as you want. Just conveying the experience. This is a lawyer, guys, that he is going to pass the second bar. If he doesn't pass, he'll take it again and he'll pass it. This guy's very smart, Harvard graduate. He's about to be certified a bard. That's the word. It's weird because bard is like a homophone, so it also means banned. Right. Yeah. So it's weird when I say bard in 30 states, it almost means like he's been banned from 30 states. No, it means he's able to practice law. Right. It will happen in over 30 states, half the United States. That's huge. All right, so check it out. Listen to this guy. What's been going on? What's your experience?
Yeah, I would like to go all the way back to say the beginning of being introduced to IMC, and what that did just completely is change my character 100%, because that is what we're doing. And so you become. It's not about getting the thing. It's about becoming the type of person who gets the thing easily. So if you are a bad motherfucker, very intelligent, ruthless, and you have your mind together, good things come to you. It's not about, getting the girl. It's about becoming the type of man that girls love, that girls are attracted to naturally. And so being on this process is what little by little got me here. I went to Harvard. I was successful before AZD, but was I at this stage mentally before being introduced to this? 0, 0%. Yeah. I had girlfriends, it's not like I was a fucking, weirdo, never got a girl or anything like that. But
yeah, he had that suave Latin kind of flavor. He's a DJ. Yeah, he was on path to be a lawyer. Of course.
I went to Harvard. I've been a DJ, so that gets me social. So those are boom, 2 clicks right there. Girls come to me, it's easy. But can I handle the woman? Can I run a relationship? That is something that I've never learned, that I've never been taught. And so once I got here, I started to understand what that means. And how do you handle a woman? And how do you handle a woman being okay? Or how do you convey the message to a woman that you're going to be with other women?
This is very important, because I was just talking for an hour with this guy who's about to, he says he's going to blow up, certain promotions and things. And he's very skilled at what he does. He makes a lot of money. So I trust him, but he's also young. And so he's 23 or something. I'm 35. And so his understanding of things, he was a big fan of Andrew Tate. And he's talking about Andrew Tate. He's like, Andrew Tate had 75 women at once or whatever. And I was like, yeah, but where are they? he doesn't post about them, but they don't want to be posted. They don't want to be known that they're with him. Like there's something about that guy's character that the women he's getting with don't want to be seen with him. Right. So that's a lack of male character. And the guy was getting it. He was starting to get, like, he changed. You remember how he was at lunch? He was totally different on the phone now. He's like, I get what you're saying. Like it's different. It's a lesser strategy. And I was like, exactly, man. The guy is pushing Bugattis and whatever. And he's successful and, happy guy in whatever degree that he is. But you're less fulfilled if you can't contain the woman and give her a safe space to, really augment your power. And so this is what Wil Rios is talking about.
Yeah, like so I won't say exactly who, but recently I was in Vegas with some very wealthy people, and basically they're out here buying bottles and like trying to getting sections and stuff, like being big ballers and doing what they do. Me, I'm not at that level. Not now. I'm still very young in my
financially
career. Yeah, and so like I don't have that. But when the girls came around, who were the girls like talking to? Who were the girls really like, trying to be around? It was me. Who, like, they're, to be honest, 99.9% of men are chumps around beautiful
women. And that's
women.
the value. So those guys are making $1 million a year, but he's got $1 million a year character, because that's what gets the girls. And then those guys are like, yeah, we'll buy bottles, just get the girls, keep the girls around.
There you go. And so, it lets you know that it's even, you could go throughout your entire fucking life and make $1 million fucking dollars. Does that mean you're going to be satisfied with men? No, like not at all. And so how about you start where it matters, which is your fucking character. And this character is the one that's going to get the woman. This character is the one that's going to get the $1 million, because that is what this builds. That is what this creates. And so you don't want to just be the guy that does the one thing very good. You need to dominate your entire life. I think it was Conor McGregor. I'm not here to participate. I'm here to dominate. Like that is what being here and this mindset creates. That's what you're going for. You're not going for, oh, I'm just going to kind of be okay with my life. Like, no, man. You're here for much more than that. Can I talk a little bit about specifically being here?
That's what I want to talk about.
So I needed to get that out. I think people need to understand that, and that's something that's been sitting with me. So this is getting the juices going. Okay, so being here specifically, it made me understand the power of the tribe. Like I've always conceptualized it, right?
Living here, this is based on where Arash lives, right?
So like I've conceptualized it, right? Like I've heard the lectures, I get it, logically. But as far as experiencing how that works and how to do that, and like what are the steps that you do to do that, that is what has been revealed to me, or is being revealed to me, as time goes forward. And what the main thing that AZD said that stuck with me is the concept of being on the team and being coordinated. Meaning I know what my brothers are doing, they know what I'm doing, and we move together. So even if someone is heading out, like there's a text thread, it's like, hey, going to do this. Hey, picking up my girl. Hey, my girl is coming in. And then everybody's responding, like liking the message, loving the message. Like there is constant communication, and there's a constant sense of unity. I think that would probably be the word, is unity. And so we're here and we're united. It's not that we're separate people living in the same area.
How do you get that sense of unity living here? They may not have that experience.
So I conceive it as, one is the communication, and then two is the activities that you do together. So every morning we wake up here around 6:45 to 7-ish. Everyone's in here on their process, either doing calisthenics, doing yoga, doing meditation. Like we're all here. So me with base 2, we're a little bit different. What we do is we actually like read together in the morning. So we like hang around, like I'm reading Stoicism. I think they're reading Think and Grow Rich, all these other stuff. So we'll read together. We chat it up a little bit. And then like 10, 15 minutes into it, we go outside and then we start working out together. And then like, that's like the sun that we have our own setup there. Mm-hmm. And so like those, like it's a slightly different thing than this, but I think, everyone will develop kind of their own method of doing that. Yeah. And so, that for me is fun. Like we just kind of chat it up a little bit, and then, we get into our shit. And then throughout the workout, we have these mantras that we say, these affirmations, and it's just fun. It's a great fucking energy. Talk to Gio and talk to Alex and talk to them how fucking magical our mornings are. Like, and I would not have known to even conceive that idea were I not here and experience it here with AZD. And so like the concept of coordination and working together. And because of that, our communication has been, oh my God, fucking night and day since the first weekend that I spent here. And so now we're on the
your communication at base 2 has improved from,
like 100%. because I relay the ideas and then I talk about it. And then, just being here, I get that energy and I can transfer it.
Man, that's so important because without communication, I mean, how are you going to coordinate? There's going to be lots of misunderstandings. I see some guys online, you know what I mean. You know what I mean, and you know that I'm talking to you when I say that. I'm not going to name you. But without coordination, there's going to be miscommunications.
Yep.
And with those miscommunications, there's going to be, misunderstandings, resentment, wasted energy, dissipated energy, lots of, having to fix errors and whatever. And, when you live life at the highest level, you don't got time to backtrack and, fix things too much. It gets frustrating. So.
Yeah. So I'm going to say what everyone always fucking says. You need to be here. Like I was listening to AZD maybe for a year and a half, but it wasn't until my first boot camp that I showed up and saw the fucking man in action with like the energy.
Yeah.
That is how it gets to you. You need to be in the presence of this thing. Like this helps. This definitely helps. And it got me to a certain level, right?
Yeah.
But it fucking supercharged me as far as like my character and how I move in the world and how I interact with women. Like that was 100%. So thank you for Yogi Chris, because he's the motherfucker that made it happen. So, because of him, I'm here and we're just getting started, man. We're going even higher and higher.
I'm curious, do you remember how I originally sold you to?
Oh yeah. Dude, it's fucking awesome. I love it. Basically, he told Yogi Chris was telling me like, hey, do you want to come to the camp?
This was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, this was like 2 years. I was in law school. So like I'm fucking in law school. I got loans. I have a lot of scholarships, but I still have fucking loans. I hardly have any fucking money. And then Yogi Chris is like, hey man, I know you like ACD, blah, blah, blah. Like, did you think about coming to camp? And I was like, oh, well, I'm not sure. I don't really have the money, blah, blah, blah. And then Yogi Chris says, the way that you're hesitating with being a part of this is why women hesitate to be with you. And it was just like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit. Because what did it show? It showed my character. My character was showing, and the fact that I wasn't 100% committed about making shit happen. I was kind of like, here, there. And then Yogi Chris is like that beingness is what is creating your fucking life right now. And so how about you fucking be about something so that you can level up?
Man, I feel it right now when you're saying it. I'm like, damn.
Like, dude, like he fucking knocked my soul out. And I was like, fuck. Like, and I was like, dude, hey man, you're fucking right. Like, you're fucking right. So how about let's fucking make it happen? And then I showed up. And then from then, like, if my skills with girls were like at a fucking like, 5 or I don't know, like say like at 20%, like after going to my first boots camp, it went up fucking like 200%. Like it just became so easy. It just became fucking fun. Like it's not even about trying to get the girl. It's about being a bad motherfucker.
Yeah.
And then fucking girls love that shit. And so they just come.
And it's way more gratifying to be a bad motherfucker when you're not a lone wolf, when you live with guys, because if you're just a lone wolf being a bad motherfucker, it's easy to get invalidated. And it's also easy to get caught up in your own ego about it because there's nothing to measure against. You want some validation, but from people that you trust their ability to validate or invalidate or not. You don't want to be validated or invalidated by people that aren't in your tribe and they can turn your back on you. There's no loyalty because that's just shaky ground. It's building a castle on sand. And if you listen to nobody's opinions, then you're just going to become like a megalomaniac, like trying to make yourself so great in your own head because you're not getting any admiration or validation from anybody. And you're a social creature, you're human. So you want some of that. The man needs a tribe. Okay. We'll get back to Will. We got Oracle, man. So it's very interesting because Will's been doing weekend training because he does law Monday through Friday, works late. He got over at like 11 p.m. last night. He was working really late. Yeah. Oracle is doing the more usual path, which is to come here and do a straight stint of residency. So like 8 days or so. We're on like day 6 or 7 right now. And you've stayed here residency before. You've been to many, many, many camps, and you've done some private training with Arash. Yeah. Is there anything that stands out that's different about base leader training versus, any other of those trainings?
What stands out?
Or if not, just, in general, the experience of this training.
For sure. Like Will mentioned, it just comes down to the unity now. There's an actual demonstration of unity. There's an actual demonstration of what the movement is, what it looks like, what being on your path looks like as a man. That's really like the difference. And I've been around, since the first base.
What do you mean by what your path looks like? What does that mean?
So basically it comes down to the fact that all men out there and of course I'm generalizing, but all men out there don't know what a real man looks like. We've all had fathers, cousins, uncles, whatever they sell us on TV as an example of what a man looks like. But we don't know how they behave properly unless they've lived with us.
Yeah, because you only see an hour a day or half an hour a day if they're on whatever they're displaying to you, but then they can go hide and have all their weird habits and their whatever their character flaws. They can hide those away, and so they can portray the best of themselves, which is a step up from people that are totally hidden away, but it almost creates a double life or a polarization of the person's character where they have this shadow aspect. We all have a shadow aspect, but that's why this is integrated mental concepts. Like we integrate the shadow. That's what the code of the werewolf is, the beast camp this month. So
yeah, a lot in a few sentences.
What I just said?
Yeah, that's a whole lot.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get the experience of what I consider the two most brilliant minds. I mean, like these are the two most brilliant minds in this movement, which I respect the most because not only are they intelligent, but they're in this movement.
This is a very successful businessman. I gotta clip this out for myself. This is dope.
Yeah, I mean, the truth is the truth, and I mean, I don't know if like IQ is a thing or if you can measure that some way somehow, but I guarantee you these are some of the most intelligent people that exist, that are alive today on this planet.
Shit.
So, like straight up.
Yeah.
For
Making
real.
me feel good about myself.
yeah.
All right, back to the base leader training. So
it's that's how exciting and how dope it is to be here.
Nice.
Because, I don't care where you are mentally, spiritually, physically, but you can come here and grow as a man. You get to measure yourself against the most intelligent, the most athletic, physically, the most spiritual. Anything you want to measure yourself against is here.
Got Maharishi right behind you. Mahesh Yogi.
And you have an actual demonstration of what it looks like. You're not just reading it in a book. You're watching them live privately 24/7.
What has been any eye openings or any changes? Have you changed while being here? And like in your what's changed about you while being here these last week?
I just keep growing in power, being able to say what I want to say in a more intelligent way, being able to communicate properly.
Invaluable. That's everything.
Yeah, and just being able to measure exactly where my process is. I mean, I've been involved since very beginning, and so I've gone through the experience of knowing what it's like to pretend to be involved, what it's like to fall off, what it's like to not be involved. I mean, you name it, I've done it in this whole process. And so now that this is the best I've ever been in this even in my life, I get to come and see and measure up against the top brass, as AZD would say.
Yeah.
And that's literally the experience here is I'm just privileged to be here and to practice what I'm doing, measure myself against these men that are at levels that I can only hope I ever get to.
Yeah, you will. I mean, if you keep going, like I said the other day,
Yeah.
I mean, like 2 years, 3 years dedicated to this stuff versus like 7 years, or Ross has been on it for like 25 years or something, like it just keeps going. I'm curious, like, was there in anything specifically that you'd be willing to share? If not, that's fine. Like your communication skills improved. Is there a specific instance or specific, like, something that was more difficult, or you saw that you were making errors or you weren't being understood that now, like, you've seen any change?
Yeah.
Or
Tough question.
Okay, well then maybe about your process, like you're seeing where you are at in your process.
Yeah, definitely. In regards to the process, I mean, like I said, I've been able to measure exactly where I'm at with my process.
The process meaning, like, what do you mean by process? So I don't talk too much.
I don't want to give too much away, but
give it all away. They can't replicate it if they heard it all.
So just the ability to be disciplined. Let's just start with that. The discipline of having a wake up time, having it be early enough to be able to do everything that you need to plan out during your day, to have a schedule that you stick to. That no matter what's happening in your life,
Yeah.
you're sticking to it.
Yeah, man. Yeah. You'll be proud of yourself later.
Yeah.
You're looking for like short-term gains or some kind of instant gratification or some instant pleasure by compromising your schedule.
Mhm.
Sometimes it works out for you in the short term, but that'll have long-term consequences. And a lot of times it doesn't even work out for you in the short term. And then you still have long-term consequences.
Exactly. So like I said, I'm measuring myself against the most intelligent men that I know. And so, as successful as I am, I know I can improve. And what better way to do it than through the most intelligent men that you know?
For sure. That are on that process. We know what we know. I don't know jack shit about chess or
Yeah, you do.
checkers. I know a little bit.
You kick everybody's ass.
Nah,
Kick-
Will beat
except
me.
Will's.
I beat him once. I don't know jack shit about car automobiles or bodybuilding even. I don't know. I know a little bit about a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that I don't know a lot about. But I know this process. I'm a scholar of AZD's philosophy, 1,000 typed pages at this point or something like that. And
Zotis, let's play chess, bro.
yeah, Zotis, Wil Rios says him up about chess. So base leader training. So what's up? Yeah. Organizing a base and getting these IMC guys to move there and seeing the value of that, of leaving their own life, like Roque did, like Octavio's talking about, Zotis is talking about, Lone Wolf is talking about, Gio Estrada did it, real quick.
Yeah.
Josiah's about to do it in Phoenix. I'm sure a lot of guys want to do it. Tony K is talking about it in a year, being able to do that, like getting yourself to that position. Leave your job behind, relocate yourself. Like, didn't you move from Houston?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I came out here for law school. And so I
Where did you go to school here?
I went to school in LA.
So you moved from LA to come
Right.
to San Jose.
So with my job, I actually work 100% remote. So I could actually go wherever the fuck I want and just work from there. Like I go to Houston and I work. I go to I was in Vegas and I was working from there. That's how it worked out for me. So that's my path. That's how I got here. I mean, I don't know what to tell you about you. If you can do that, fucking do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a big shift for guys. Like, would have been, man, where do we go with this thing? It's such an exciting movement for me in building the bases, and that, the potential of that for hosting events, for having the tribe around you and building up your social value, using the tribe, using the people that you live with to go out and socialize, to have wings, to have host parties, to do character study with, to share the good times and the bad times with, and you're aligned on the same philosophy, you're aligned in the same movement. So there's very little push button responses that you'll get from guys when it comes to living your life, a life of free choice, a free life, especially with women. I mean, that's the change, that's the crutch that a lot of guys have. They try to hide their relationships with women. They try to be scandalous. They lie. They're sleazy. They have negative habits and this and that. And, those things, I think that's the big resistance to people living in a base, is because they don't want to be found out about. They have out ethics that they don't want found out. And that's why they're hiding certain behaviors.
Wow.
And they may, internally, they are justifying those. Everybody who's out ethics justifies it. The murderer justifies why they did it. But that doesn't make it ethical. It just means they can justify it. Anybody, fucking pedophiles justify what the fuck they do. You can justify anything in their mind, but they're convincing themselves of things. So there's actual ethics that, will promote the survival of the individual and the family and the tribe and worldwide. Like I was talking with Bajan, who was telling me about Andrew Tate and, running through all these women and whatever. And I was like, yeah, but what's the ethics of that? Like, are those women improving? Is his movement improving? Is humanity improving? Like, the only person that's benefiting is him. So there's the first dynamic ethic, the personal ethic, but like, it's just leaving a mess behind him. And that's going to come back and bite him in the ass as you get so famous and you have hundreds of women on your list like that you didn't build rapport with, and you just like ran through them. You're going to get a lot of rape cases against you. I'm telling you what. And that's just the most obvious thing. And so he's going to deal with that. And that's going to limit like his power and growth and his fame at some point. And whatever, that's going to happen to any guy that gets famous and is a player. But, when you're living that kind of high risk lifestyle, there's just, that's what the ethics, it's low survival because it's going to create so many problems in your future. It's going to inhibit your movement. And that's where you'll see the level of ethics. It'll inhibit a future movement. You're looking too short-term in your gratification. And that's what AZD has. He's got that long-term game strategy that doesn't compromise his present day or doesn't compromise his future day just for present day gratification. And that includes having long-term relationships. So it may compromise his relationships a year from now if some woman or some guy or something has some legitimate negative thing to say about how he conducted himself today. So conduct yourself today in a way that in the future, I mean, you'll be proud of, everybody will be proud of. There's always going to be people that have a problem with you. But if you can actually defend in a logical way, like how you did what you did and why, and it makes sense to your tribe and to a lot of intelligent people, then those people just get outed as haters. They're just haters trying to suppress you. They're not really, they don't have a legitimate, crime against you or anything. So that's the ethics of living in a base and being on schedule and, on discipline and whatever.
There's something you said here that's very key in talking to the men that are interested in this type of information and experience. The fact that you're whatever it is that you own or whatever it is that your responsibility is, that's what's holding you back. The people that you're responsible for, the people that have an opinion about you or that you care about when it comes to their opinion or whatever it is, those are the people that are holding you back. So it takes a lot of courage to be able to take care of the first dynamic in ethics,
which is your own personal individual survival.
Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the things that I came to realize is without that first dynamic of taking care of self, you can't take care of anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't care how much you do for them. If you don't take care of yourself, you're not taking care of anyone.
Yeah, you'll be sapping yourself and,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be doing a disservice, whatever service you're giving to other people, if you're compromising yourself. So it's kind of selfish, but it's really everybody's selfish. They're just convincing themselves and others that they're not being selfish. And that's what I said at the beginning about being a self-sacrificing sheep.
Mm-hmm.
That self-sacrifice philosophy that's not what plays here.
No.
And we're not just, philosophizing out our ass. We have the number one player on the planet in terms of his ability to get women from social psychology and awareness of men and women, how to be aligned with men in a way that doesn't fuck with you. Because there's a lot of guys that are players, but they can't get aligned with men because they're doing something that's slightly sleazy, that's slightly dark, that other men would not be proud to have you around because of your strategies and how you're doing things. So you can be a lone wolf out there sniping lone women that are available for that kind of thing, that have low self-esteem or whatever and sexually unsatisfied. You can do that and you'll get some short-term satisfaction from that. But you get a lot more satisfaction when you're aligned with powerful men, because you can still get women, but you'll actually have comrades, backup, and a future.
Yeah. And again, it comes down to being able to measure how good you take care of self. Number one, how do you do that? Through seeing the other individuals in the group that are doing that. Otherwise, when you're by yourself, you can't measure that. You're constantly being bombarded by society, TV, work, family. You name it. Your whole life is about you being whoever they want you to be. Religion, you name it, it's all there. And unless you're physically watching someone, that's doing what you want to do, it really it's that simple. What is this man doing that I look up to? Oh shit, that's exactly what I want to be doing, because I just see it. I just know that that's what I want. I don't know how I know, but I just know that that's what's good for me. And I take care of me. I take care of me by doing that, by making sure that I'm paying attention and that I'm mimicking as close as I can at my level to whatever my understanding is, what that looks like.
Yeah, that's the vested interest of us here at Base One, and I think Arash's interest is not necessarily like copying him, but like that mimicry. It's how we learn. It's how people learn. We learned how to talk by mimicking whoever was around us. We didn't know how to talk. We saw and we heard and we tried to make the sounds, and eventually we figured it out, and then we learned along the way. And so having like a role model of character, a character role model, not just a role model of how to sell real estate or how to play chess or whatever. Like there's role models in those things, but how to be a man which is so ambiguous to people. It's like not well defined, but when you see it and you experience it and you have that seed in you where it's like, I want to be like, you get inspired by that and you see what you want, and then, you know, you mimic it. And then now you're here doing residency. So you see it so much and it's on a different level. So there's a lot of guys that stay residency, but Arash doesn't involve himself too much in what they do because they're just staying residency.
Right.
The Guardians, the people that live here, me, Fernando, and Sultan, we get involved with those guys. But when you're doing base leader, Arash is really interested in you guys and your character, because you're going back to your base and you're going to be that role model of a character for the people that live there to be inspired by. And the people outside of your base who look at your base, they're going to be inspired by the guys that live at the base and the leader of that base, as you know, it's going to light a fire in them, or they'll be repelled because they don't want it. But those are some crooked people. So yeah, that's what I would have to say.
Yeah, and then back to your original question, like what is the biggest difference? You know, I've been around since day one. I've you know, been resident, done all if not most of the beast camps. And the biggest difference here as a base leader training is being able to witness AZD and his process and what that looks like. I know he's sharing whatever he's sharing. And I was thinking about this earlier actually in the shower.
Nice. Shower time thoughts.
Yeah. You know, one thing I've noticed is AZD sharing like a whole universe. But your understanding of what he's doing is only as good as your awareness or your knowledge of it. So I pictured it this way. What if we all walked into the zoo or an aquarium and I don't know shit about fishes or aquarium or what that looks like, but I'm just looking around and I'm like, yeah, that thing's beautiful. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Okay, cool. That's cool. But if I'm aware, or if I have knowledge of the fish and what type of fish and whatever, you know, whatever's out in the sea, then I get more out of it. So when I'm here, I'm looking at Arash do whatever he's doing and I'm getting a lot out of it. I don't know why, but I see a lot happening. There's a lot of subtle communications that are happening.
Bro, I'm still having that. After 6-7 years, I'm still having that. I see more and you just appreciate it more. And the little subtle calibrations, like you were saying, like knowing just when to correct someone and how to do it, how hard to go, like, you know, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So that's what I'm catching on to. And AZD's sharing so much of himself. He's more visible, you know, because now we're at this level. And now I'm thinking even more because every time I level up, I get to see where he's at. And I'm just like, oh, damn, like he really is like fucking, I don't know how many levels above me.
That's what I'm saying, man. People, they're going to admire like Zothes or Phoenix or some of these guys that aren't in bases yet, but they've been, you know, training on the process. Octavio, Lone Wolf. I'm sure there's a lot of guys that look up to you. You may not know it, but as you communicate with them, they're going to appreciate your level of communication, your precision, your ability to understand what they are actually saying. They don't feel heard by anybody. They don't know. And then you guys, when you interact with guys that live in the base, like Jaime or Fernando or Sultan, like these guys that live in bases, you will look up to how you may not know it yet, but like Marcello or like Tony K, all of you guys that aren't in bases, interact with somebody that's in a base and you'll see there is a different level. You may not see it right now, but if you were around them, hung out a day with them, let alone if you stayed in the base with them, you would see that their ability to communicate it's subtle, but it's what's needed. It's that little calibration of not just how to word something, but how to voice something instead of letting it go unvoiced.
Yeah, and I want to, especially that piece. Look, at the end of the day, you've been conditioned by a very extremely suppressive society, and your voice is stuck inside of you. Sometimes you want to say something, but you don't know how to say it. You either wait till you blow up, or you just don't say it. And so living with these men, you get to practice what it's like to be able to say something with respect.
Yeah, because this isn't that like wussy, sissy, you know, therapy circle, you know, of women trying to teach you how to communicate your feelings kind of thing.
Yeah.
This is just voicing things that matter, not letting them go unvoiced. Because it's probably a woman that somehow slapped you or spanked you or something when you were a boy, that's where you learned how to not voice things because you got hurt when you did.
Yeah, and you get to say it, you get to practice with power how to say things. And then even when you mess up, because we're all gonna mess up, you'll be corrected. And you'll learn.
Yeah, it's like a wolf pack, you know? And so the guys that are not in IMC, they're going to look at the guys that are in IMC that have been doing their shit. They're going to look up to you. They're going to be inspired by how you communicate. You guys that are in IMC, when you interact with guys that are in bases, you're going to be inspired. You're going to look up to them. You're going to look up to how they communicate. The guys that are in bases that live with a base leader, they're going to look up to you and your level and ability to confront. There's levels to this thing. Anybody that's in Dragon's Lair and doing their studies with AZD, you know that there's levels that you have leveled up and you are better than people around you. The Guardians are better than you. The base leaders are better than the Guardians. And the base leaders are here saying that Arash is way good. There's levels to this thing and it just keeps going. And so as IMC blows up bigger and bigger, there's going to be a need for you all to be getting more responsible for the conditions around you, for the people around you. The people are going to be looking up to you, and that's what's needed. It's not just growing the movement laterally. We're building a pyramid here, and it's not like a pyramid scheme, even though that's not even such a bad thing. A pyramid, that's what business is. But we're actually constructing, the pyramids of Egypt over here. So there was something that resonated with you, Will, that was just said about there's something Oracle said. I heard you acknowledge it really well. It was
what's on my mind right now is, you were saying that you appreciate people because you understand their level. Like that, I don't know if you remember when we went out to eat, Yogi Chris, I was like, man, dude, I really admire you.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I've been getting some good feedback. I feel really good about myself, guys.
Yeah.
You should have heard Monster the other day. He was like, man, Yogi Chris, that guy will fuck you up. That guy will fuck you up. Don't fuck with Yogi Chris. I was like, hell yeah, man. Let me clip that out and, put some dramatic music behind it and make it affirmations.
Yeah, like I'm growing in awareness. And so I am aware of the ability and the talents and like the dedication and the discipline that is going on around me. And it's fucking inspiring, dude. Like, what really was really cool to me. So we were walking on our way to the farmer's market, and I assume it was your girlfriend or a girl that you're talking to, and you were like just correcting her on like how she should be and how she's communicating with
the phone.
Yeah, on the phone, like how she should communicate with the other woman or whatever.
Oh yeah.
It's like, so me, like I had a girlfriend who was okay with me being with other women, but like that's as far as I got. Like you are at another level where it's like, okay, now you're basically handling two women and how they communicate with the world and with each other and with you. And it's like, I know at what level I had to get to even just get what I got.
Yeah.
It was just like, dude, imagine you're as telling a woman that you're going to be with other women. And she's just like, okay, well, that's what it is. Like I got to that level. And then now I see what Yogi Chris is able to do, and it's like, fuck, like that is so sick, man. I'm gonna get there. Like that's the next level. But you have to go through it. Like this, I didn't go through this shit lying, and that's really my biggest thing that I appreciate with AZD is that like he's speaking the fucking truth, and it inadvertently allowed me to speak the truth as well. And so now I'm not fucking apologizing for shit. Like my mom was asking me about it. She's like, does she know that you're with other women? I'm like, yeah, she knows. She's like, okay. I was like, yeah. I was like, she's like, wow.
Yeah, both my parents and my grandpa, my grandma, they all know I have two women.
Yeah. And so like how many men on earth can like say that? Like I bet you it's probably less than fucking like 12 or something. Like only people that are studying with AZD, because I don't fucking know anybody else anywhere else. Yeah. And so I get to admire how you handled it and how you communicate that, but then also with everybody else in IMC, like you're doing voice messages to other people who are like not under shit. And obviously, there are times where I fucked up and you had to correct me. And I'm like, dude, like that is so sick. Nice. that you're the man that has that job,
Yeah.
And so
a million text messages later, I have the skills.
Yeah. And so
I'm not underestimating that. It's like a million text messages.
And so me in my job, I'm basically second in command to the leader, the partner is what they're called in law firms. So the partner is number one, I'm literally number two. And so I'm handling like 10 other people. Nice. And so I am responsible for them getting their shit
Man,
together.
This is invaluable, man. These are the skills for life, like learning how to communicate with the base and
Mhm.
being here with us and an AZD. Like that's going to translate really well to your business and everything and your relationships.
Right.
You know, because I like to say, you know, that having two women is not twice as hard as having one woman. It's 10 times as hard.
Mhm.
It's an order of magnitude.
Mhm.
And it was like that when you get women, when you have a girlfriend or something growing up or whatever, to go from being a beta in that relationship to being an alpha, to go from being where you have a girl, maybe she's even pretty, and to versus being with a pretty girl that you are dominant over, that she's submissive to you, not just being with a girl, is 10 times harder. It takes 10 times the skill and effort to go from just being in a relationship. Lots of guys are in relationships to being the dominant in your relationship, not just BDSM tying her up. I'm not talking about that. I'm just a dominant energy. And then to go from that to having two women in that dynamic is another 10 times.
Yep.
And so it may look really close. It's one of those things. It's like an illusion. The mountain looks close until you start walking. And then it's like, man, every step I take, it's not getting any closer.
I was absolutely under that illusion. I was like, oh, dude, it's going to be easy. Like, oh, I can get no one. Like, Like the woman tests you in every way that you should actually be tested, because you have to. She wants you to be a bad motherfucker.
Mhm.
And so if you provide that, she will submit and she will give you what she wants or what you want. But if you're not playing that fucking character, it's going to get called out. It's going to be challenged. And you have to be the motherfucker that doesn't back down from the challenge. And I see now, looking back, where I failed at that challenge so many fucking times. Now that I've gone along on this process, I'm defeating so many more, but there's a fucking infinite amount.
Yeah,
and then imagine getting to AZD's level where it's like fucking 12, where it was like fucking 17. Holy shit. Like the path is long, but the path is rewarding.
It's very
the path
rewarding.
is going to give you what you want. Like, I've gotten so much out of it.
There's a lot of byproduct benefits. It's not just about the women, you know, aligning with men and being able to handle communicate. You know, it's so invaluable when sister or dad or somebody, you know, my dad had a communication thing going on with, you know, his mother, my grandmother, and not knowing how to say it. And I'm telling you, my knowledge of game and female psychology is what I drew upon. It sounds weird to say I was gaming my grandma, because that sounds weird, but that's what it was. I knew how to say it, and I fed that line to my dad, because that's how we learn. So Will hears me talk on the phone. Now he knows how to do that. That's why you pay for the game. It's to be sold, not given, or whatever this saying is. Sold, not told. Because learning to communicate is just as simple as hearing someone do it, and then you figure it out. And you know, so drawing on how rewarding that was for me to be able to help my parents with my sister, with my grandma, and shout out to my grandma and my sister. Like, those are good women, but they're misguided. They don't have a man leading them. And my grandma had my grandpa, but my grandpa's dead now. And so she's, you know, going through her shit in old age, and congratulations. They were married for like 80 years or something. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, maybe it was like 65 years or something. First kiss, they got together at like 15. They were never with anybody else. I mean, supposedly. So, I mean, that's incredible. And there was one thing I wanted to say, because we're about to switch over to the gathering, the Beast Gathering. So if you're not on the Beast Gathering, and I'm looking at, you know, some of the guys not on the Beast Gathering, I mean, I don't know how you're going to figure that out, because I really, 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 really recommend it. You're not getting the depth of the information that could really be life-saving. You know, you're going to come into a problem in your life at some point, but you don't know how to handle. And that's when you're going to wish you had the tech. Or you won't even have the awareness to know that you'll wish you had the tech. You will later get the tech and realize, I didn't need to make those mistakes. If I had had the tech, I wouldn't have made those mistakes. Now, the catch-22 of that is, when you stop making those mistakes, bigger mistakes become available to you. And that's the discouragement people get. They're like, I get to the next level and they're like, this is good enough. It's like somebody that's losing weight and they're like, this is good enough. I lost 10 pounds. It's like, don't you want a six-pack though? Like, you could do it, but you settle, you know, and that's what it is. Guys settle. You've been groomed to learn how to settle. So I
want to close it out.
Okay, go ahead and close it out. If I have anything else, I'll say it.
There's a whole lot of information given to you, even right here, right now.
Yeah, what a powerful stream.
I mean,
right?
there's so many levels to what you've heard, but I'm gonna go back to my analogy of the aquarium and the zoo, and I want to go and apply it towards Yogi Chris.
Shit.
I don't think you guys understand. Even if you watch him on these podcasts or watch him on Instagram or whatever, I don't think you quite understand who this man is. he literally, like, I honestly believe you're being misunderstood.
Yeah.
You're speaking at such a high level, man, that I think you've lost the majority of these minds.
Damn it.
At one idea or another.
Zothis is getting it, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, just living here with you is so, like, I'm learning how to admire you to another level and another level
thank
and
you.
another level.
Thank you very much.
I mean, your knowledge and what you're helping me out with,
Yeah,
your physicality, your level of physicality. I mean, only Olympic athletes are at this level. Your knowledge of it, your knowledge of how to fix that, the way you manage women, the way you manage us. Because you don't, here, let me summarize it. You're at the top level of where you know how to manage the female energy. Plain and simple. And that includes us here. Little did you know that you were portraying and displaying feminine traits, characteristics. You got to shed those.
Yeah, come up in the ranks, get involved. Beast Gathering, go to imcbase1.com to get involved with the next event. Anybody that's catching this recording on all the podcast platforms, imcbase1.com. And I'm sure we'll have these guys on again in the future. So we're going to switch over to the advanced training right now with AZD, who's in the room right now. Os.
Os.
Os.